Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh and good day to everyone. I'm Nur Asia Yaakob, represent the team members Dr. Natasha Mazna Ramli, Nurul Aini Muhammad, Sumayah Abdul Aziz and also Agus Munalis Tahir. We are from Faculty of Economics and Muamalat, University Science Islam Malaysia. Would like to present our research paper. The title for our presentation is A Conceptual Framework for E-Wallet Adoption Intentions Among Small-Size Muslim Merchants. Okay, for introduction, let me introduce on the concept of e-wallet. Actually, e-wallet is conceptually similar to a physical wallet where an amount of e-money is kept in a digital format, and this e-money will be used to make investment to the other parties via online transfer. Then we are focusing on the small size Muslim merchant. So what's the advantage of using e-wallet? Okay, this is the benefit of using e-wallet for small businesses and SMEs. It's including increased efficiency, solving cash leakage issues, being more secure, and increasing sales. Then remarkable features of the e-wallet is that e-wallet captures all transactions automatically and digitally, and the transaction captured by e-wallet apps are processed on real-time basis. As a result, the information produced by the e-wallet apps are high quality since it can be produced timely and the information are free from error. Thus, this makes them to make a better business decision. Okay, this is quick info about the e-wallet adoption. In e-wallet adoption has dramatically increased since the COVID-19 pandemic, especially from the younger and techno-savvy customers. Then in Malaysia, e-wallet is seen as still at the initial phase of implementation, whereas adoption is the main concern facing by e-wallet service provider. Then e-wallet adoption is important in accelerating Malaysia's goal to develop a cashless society by 2050. For the problem statement, it can be viewed from two perspectives. The first one from the practical perspective and second one from the academic perspective. From practical view, it can be seen that the growth of e-wallet is low, and this contributed by the low usage rates among small-size merchants, while the adoption of e-wallet among Muslims is also low, no matter either as a customers and also merchant perspective. While from the academic view, we found that studies on e-wallet adoptions are at the early phase, and previous research are focusing more on consumers as a payer, while there are few studies only that look at on the cash receiver side, particularly for the small merchants. So what motivates us to conduct this study? As reported by the Department of Statistics Malaysia in year 2020, there are more than 900,000 of micro entrepreneurs in Malaysia. This number represents 78.4% of micro, small and medium enterprise or MSMEs, where Malaysia, as dominating by Muslim population, it's also reasonable to assume that most of the micro entrepreneurs are from Muslims population. Then, as I mentioned previous, the adoption among small size merchant, particularly on Muslim, are low. Thus, it is important to identify the factors that influence acceptance of e-wallets among small size Muslim merchant. This is important because there is another religious factor for Muslim, which is related to Islamic principles that are exclusively for Muslim, where this might influence Muslim decision in adopting e-wallet. Then the adoption of e-wallet by merchants are significant because this will urge customers to adopt e-wallets as well. However, there are limited studies that studies on the merchant sites. Thus, the scarcity of studies emphasize that adoption factors leads to difficulties in understanding the antecedent that influence merchants to adopt e-wallet. From the literature review that we performed, we found that there is no studies yet available on measuring the impact of structural assurance with emphasis on Sharia compliance status on e-wallet adoption. However, this is important to examine the relationship between Sharia compliance as an influence factor for e-wallet adoption, whereas Sharia compliance may increase Muslim merchants' confidence in adopting e-wallets in the business transactions. From these findings, we conclude that there is no comprehensive framework yet for e-wallet adoption. Thus, we carry out this study with the objective to identify the antecedents that influence the adoption of e-wallet among small-size Muslim merchants. We propose the following theoretical framework for e-wallet adoptions. Please take note that this study brings in the same variables used by scholars who studied on e-wallet adoption or intention from the customer's context, and we turn it into the merchant context. And our work based on the theory acceptance model or TAM, where the original variables under this theory are perceived usefulness and perceived of ease of use. However, through literature, we found that there is a significant trend that extends this theory to another variable such as trust, technology self-efficacy, and government supports. Okay, then as mentioned previous, there is no yet study on structural assurance from the Sharia perspective. Then we propose this variable as a new variables to framework. Then this factor we believe influence factor for the intention adoption of e-wallets, and intention will lead to the actual adoption of e-wallet. We provide the following definition for the variables highlighted in our research model. First, perceived usefulness. We refer perceived usefulness as to what extent merchants believe that adopting the e-wallet application will facilitate customer payment, hence boost up business performance. For perceived ease of use, it's referred to what extent merchants believe that adopting e-wallet application requires a minimal effort. Third, trust. Trust refers to what extent merchants believe that they can rely on e-wallet when performing transactions related to cash. Technology efficacy. We refer this as to what extent the merchants believe that he or she would be able to execute e-wallet transaction independently. While for the government supports, it's referred to government endorsement and incentive that encourage users keen to use e-wallet application. And the last variable for structural assurance, we refer these terms to what extent merchant believe that e-wallet system is permissible by Islamic principle. From our study, we can conclude that e-wallet is a new but promising tool in fintech, which provides essential support for the IR 4.0. Second, academic work in relation to e-wallet usage is increasing, but it's more focusing on the customer's perspective, while there is a depth of study on small-size Muslim merchant. Third, structural assurance is not yet available in the studies. This suggests e-wallet adoption framework yet to be comprehensive in the both type of users, particularly for Islamic setting. Then we bring in variables from the customer's point to small size Muslim merchants domain in our theoretical framework. This result may differ since these two parties have their own opinions and reasons in adopting e-wallet. As this is initial framework, thus we suggest to conduct empirical tests to identify the applicability of the proposed framework. And last one, this study perhaps to provide the input to the relevant parties such as government and financial institution in shaping e-wallet development that fits the Muslim citizen needs. That's all from our groups. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.